Hi, Flosstube. My name is Becca, and I am SamBrie Stitches here on Flosstube and other social media platforms. This is a special edition of Interview with a Flosstuber. I am very excited, and I cannot believe it has taken me this long to set up an interview with Janine McGowan. She is the incredible designer behind the Blue Flower. Janine is not only a talented designer, but she also is a very patient and helpful person. Learned this from experience. She's become kind of my cross stitch designing guru, let's just say, from all the advice and everything that she's given me, and just the patience and the understanding and the thoughtfulness is you're just incredible. I appreciate it.
Lots of people helped me and still help me, so we're just
Yeah,
all
we
put
all
a
help
hand
each
out.
other. Yeah, we all help each other.
Yeah.
She also has a great Flosstube channel, and I always seem to learn something from her channel because she always talks about like the world around us, and it's like these neat little tidbits of information on plants or birds or something. So it's pretty cool, other than just cross stitch. So if you're not familiar with Janine, which I'm sure y'all are, but all the links will be posted down below in the description box so you can go and check her out and her website and all that kind of stuff. So I'm really excited to get going on the questions. The first one is, why did you start a floss tube, and were there any particular motivations?
I think, looking back, I started the Flosstube because I felt like I needed to. Like I needed to actually have that kind of back and forth conversation with people. But it was so scary. I put it off for so long because it's not my best thing. I'm not great at talking to people anyway. And without any kind of feedback, it's like, oh, wow, I got nothing. Like I have trouble figuring out what people are feeling when they're in front of me.
Yep.
And so to not even have them there was really daunting. But I'm so glad I did because it's been so rewarding, and the chance to connect with people in a more real-time way has been great.
Yep. I know it is kind of weird when you're like getting started and you're just talking to yourself, but you're really trying to talk to the people, but it's just the
Right.
camera right there.
The
Yeah.
people who may not even be there when you're starting, you're like, well, I don't even know if anyone's going to watch this apart from my husband.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I
yeah.
used to get weird looks because I would record out on my back deck.
Mhm.
And my neighbors, like the kids would come out and play on the deck and stuff, and they could see me over the fence and they would just be looking over at me.
Sure. Right.
Finally, they know what I do. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, it's a great community for sure.
It really is. It's meant a lot to me to be part of it. So
Yeah. So I'm curious, how did you come up with your channel name, your overall name, I guess, the Blue Flower?
it's from a book. When I was at university, I studied German, and there's a book in German literature called Heinrich von Ofterdingen. And in this book, which I don't remember the book much at all, it wasn't a favorite, but there was this image that they used of the blue flower being a thing that is different for each person, but kind of makes the universe make sense, gives them their meaning, gives them, and it can change throughout your life. But the shorthand for it was the blue flower. And so that's where the name came from.
That's
So one little random tidbit from my
well, I
college
very true.
education.
Love that. I love that. Um, I love your designs. I think they're a lot of my taste, like the animals and that kind of stuff. Where do you get your design influence from?
I wish I even had the language to discuss going back through my grade school, high school, all of that. It was either art or music, and I was always music. So I don't know how to draw anything. People always ask me, do you draw? No, I can't draw anything. I don't know anything about art. Unless it happened in, a particular period of German history, then I know a little tiny bit. But I think my brain has always been one to seize on things and just focus on them. So, I mean, it will literally be I'm walking into the park, and the way that a shrub looks at a certain time of day, my brain sees those colors and starts thinking about them. I wish I had a better answer than that, but
No,
that's really the way it works for me.
that's impressive because for you not like sketching or drawing anything ahead of time, and for some of the designs that you do, with like Huckleberry Farm and that kind of stuff, with just I coming from just a beginner designer point of view of trying to, because I don't draw or have any art talent either. It's just pixels on a screen, and then I go to view and I'm like, does that look right?
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't know. It's just it's incredible to talk to somebody who doesn't have that I guess the artsy background of the drawing and the designing and being able to make something.
I don't at all. I mean, I look at so many other great designers and they draw their things out. And if you saw my work notebook, it's terrifying. It's just a bunch of like weird circles with labels because I don't know how to make any of the shapes. I just put the label there.
Yeah, you know what you're doing. So
I don't.
That's good. If anybody wants to steal your designs, they won't be able to.
It won't help you at all.
Right. So how did you learn to stitch, and how long have you been stitching?
I think like a lot of us stitched when I was young, but more because my mom knew how to cross stitch. And sorry, I've got a excited dog here.
Yep.
Hopefully that'll stop. But there just weren't any options. I lived in a small town anyway, and then the one art supply store that had some cross stitch stuff was a really limited selection. And so I never did it after junior high for a long time. And then years and years later, I had gotten this bad cold and developed a really bad cough. And so I was trying to rest, and I needed to do things that kept me from moving around, but I couldn't sleep. I was awake. And so I was like, what am I going to do that doesn't involve moving? And I thought I'll just maybe try cross stitching. I'm desperate. And fortunately, at the time I lived in Portland, and I looked up cross stitch stores, and what do you know, Acorns and Threads. And so I went in all, I got in the door and was just absolutely gobsmacked. They had that Plum Street one with Noah's Ark and all the animals. And I had never seen anything like that. I'd never seen anyone stitching on linen. I'd never seen all of the colors. I just had never, ever imagined anything like that. And that really just started me off again wholeheartedly. So that's how I got back into it and haven't stopped since.
Acorns and Threads could do that to you.
Yes, I was very fortunate because, Janine is so great, and she just held my hand and told me it was okay and let me explore. It was wonderful.
Yeah, she's pretty awesome. You walk in there, even if you don't know Janine or don't know any of the staff, you walk in there, you just hand them your credit card or your debit card. Yes. And, just go shop, and they'll find stuff to, also spend your money on. They're awesome.
But, they are really.
Yeah. So do you have a favorite project that you've stitched or designed so far?
I always say my favorite one is the one that's just come back from model stitching, because for the first time you see it, like really see it alive. And that's, I love that moment. But I did bring probably my favorite one. And it's huge. This is a sampler that I picked up when I was in New Zealand. And this is the first like real big thing I did. And it was terrifying because it was the first time I threw all of the colors out, and literally Janine went with me around the store over and over, reminding me it's okay if you want to change. Mm-hmm. Really? Will this one be okay? Yeah, it's okay if you want to change that. What about, would it be okay? Yep. It's okay if you want to change that. So I changed everything. I had this enormous pile of floss. Everything's different. And then, I don't know if you can see, I might see. There are these two huge motifs up at the top of these flowers. The pattern is just blank. And there's this big blank space and a picture of the original, because all this is stem stitched. And so you have to just sort of make your outlines. And I did every other part except for these two big holes until the very end. And at the last possible minute, when I couldn't put it off anymore, I tackled those. And they were my favorite part. So this is kind of my whole journey of trying new things and learning about it in one enormous, truly huge sampler. So that's the New Zealand sampler.
That is gorgeous.
I think that's my favorite.
I think that's a good story to tell, as well as it's okay, coming from a designer's point of view, it's okay for the stitchers to change colors, or if they want to switch motifs, or,
Everything.
like that. There's no rules.
That's right. There's no
Yep,
rules. There's no wrong. There's just the way you like it.
yeah. So, what do you enjoy most about stitching?
I think it's a really good combination for me because it's repetitive enough to soothe my brain, but also you get so much instant gratification because you're seeing the colors coming in and you're adding new bits, and every little, it's not one of those projects that you take 4 days before you see a tiny bit of progress. You get to see results every single time you stitch down, even if you just put in one thread's worth. So
True.
it's really, yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
So what this is kind of a tricky question to ask designers, but what's like the time frame from when you have this idea to like your initial vision to when you release? Is there
It
like
really, yeah, it really depends. Personally, and I'm so new, I'm still figuring it out. I am comfortable designing happiest probably 8 months ahead of when it releases.
Wow. Okay.
So in a perfect world, I would be designing the things 8 months ahead so they have time to go out to model stitching. I have time to get them framed. I have time to do the photographs and not be stressed and get the printing and get it back. That isn't certainly always the case because I'm not done with fall yet. Never mind Christmas. But that's my ideal. And then things always come up where people say, can you do this or that special thing? And so if you're ahead, then you can. And if I'm behind, I have to say no, which I don't like doing. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's my goal.
That's
If that helps.
a good goal. I'm slowly learning that too. I'm still working on finishing the fall stuff.
Yeah,
Like
I know. And
it,
I go back and forth between, oh, but you've got time, but no, really, you should do it now.
yeah. Yeah. It's hard to try to stay on track with releasing, I guess.
Yeah.
That so yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured there's not really like a set timeline, but I like to ask that because that actually was a subscriber question that they wanted included.
Yeah.
To check. So we're gonna get out of stitchy talk a little bit. We're
Okay.
gonna learn a little bit more about you.
Uh-oh.
So what's your favorite genre of book or movie?
I have been an absolute mystery buff my whole life. And I think, it's very satisfying to me. I like that. I like order. I like things ending up the way they should. And I fall much more on the, justice prevails, not too stressful end of mysteries rather than the true crime and, oh, I'm way anxious about what's going to happen type of mystery. That just isn't what I choose. And lately I've been getting into a lot more sci-fi, which I'm enjoying. And I've started, this is so funny. I've started listening to, because I predominantly listen to audiobooks for this particular type, but lit RPG, where they're writing about role-playing video games. And I
Oh,
don't play video games, but it's so interesting to me. Not all of them, but there are a couple of authors whose work I just really enjoy. And so
that's
that's been
cool.
fun.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Love that because my whole family, I used to, but the rest of my family plays World of Warcraft, so it's a role
Mm-hmm.
playing type of game, and
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
that's kind of neat. That's really cool. I didn't
It's
even
been a
know
lot of
they
fun.
had
It's been a way to learn
audiobook.
about something without, you
Yeah,
know, having to do it in a way that like so many things, you feel like you fail for so long before you get good enough to really enjoy it or
yeah,
to find your footing in it. And this way you can kind of dive right in and have the experience.
yeah. That's interesting. I didn't even know that existed, so that's kind of cool.
There you go.
Yeah, I had no idea. So what fictional place would you most like to go to?
This was a great question. Thank you. I would like to go visit St. Mary's Institute from the Chronicles of St. Mary's by Jody Taylor.
Okay. I've
Yeah.
actually never heard of that. Is it like what is it
it's
kind of
it's theoretically that they're time traveling historians, so they go around and film history
okay.
traveling through time, but of course they're just very, very funny, and they live in this old hospital like monastery institute in England with this pack of absolutely lunatic swans that keep attacking them, and a science office, not really a science officer, but that science department who invents all these mad things, and they have a ball. I love it.
That sounds cool.
Yeah.
That would be kind of fun place to go to, I think.
Wouldn't it be? I think so too. But watch out for the swans.
Yeah, I was like, I don't want to get attacked by swans, but no. So, another fun question. If you could choose to do anything for a day, what would it be?
I had so much fun with these. Thank you for this. It was really great. And I settled on zookeeper because I would love to be close to so many animals in a way that doesn't stress them out, because you just don't get those opportunities in a way that's safe for the animals too a lot of the time. And so I would really love to do that. And I am absolutely willing to shovel poo to make that happen. So
yeah, I think I'd be right there with you. That I never even thought about being a zookeeper.
wouldn't that be great?
Close to animals. Yeah, my younger daughter just got a job at an animal sanctuary, but it's farm animals that, have special needs type of things. But she's shoveling poo, but she gets to be right there taking care of the animals and spending time with them. So
exactly.
That's special. Pretty cool. Yeah, that would be an awesome thing to do for a day.
Yeah.
So do you have any other hobbies besides cross stitch?
I do a little bit. I'm trying to learn to cook, and it's a years long effort. When I grew up, it was just you follow the recipe, and if it comes out yummy, then it's a good recipe. If it doesn't, it's a bad recipe. But you never learn to cook. And then when I was in Dallas, I was able to meet with some refugees from Syria. And so you see these women who are in a completely unfamiliar situation. I mean, literally, you're there with your Google app at the store with them, trying to figure out what it is that they're looking for so that you can find it. And they don't measure anything, and they cook this amazing food. And so I thought, I'm going to try and learn how to cook, like really cook. And so my husband and I both have been working on that, and it's been a lot of fun. It's really rewarding. And yeah, and I guess tied to that is I've been trying to learn to garden too and grow some of the delicious food that we can hopefully eat.
That's
so
cool.
those are
they go hand in hand.
My time.
My husband always says that recipes are meant to be broken and adjusted. So like even with baking, he doesn't ever go by recipes. He does all the cooking. I don't.
Wow. That's impressive with baking, because that's a whole other.
Yeah, he does it, and it turns out good, but he never sticks 100% to the recipe that's written. So I think that would be a good rule of thumb for a lot of people, kind of do your own thing with it. I absolutely love this next question because it really gets you kind of thinking. It's, how would your friends describe you?
I struggled with this one. I don't actually know. I mean, I think the most obvious thing about me is that I'm such an introvert, probably. That's the first thing people would know. Other than that, I don't know what they would say about me, really.
Yeah, see, this was, it's a challenging question that I like to ask. It gets you kind of thinking. Some people reach out to different friends and ask, or family, or that kind of thing.
I should have done that. Yeah, I asked my husband, but he just had funny things to say, so
that would be
not useful things
that you cannot repeat.
Exactly. No, Robert, no, stop it. Seriously. I can't say that.
Yep, I totally get it. Well, I think in my description, I kind of described you a little bit, though. You're helpful, you're thoughtful, very talented in your designing. So you have very good traits,
Thank you. Aww.
So, how do you prefer to stitch? Do you use like a hoop, a Q-snap, in hand?
I use a hoop exclusively. I've tried to use the frames, and I haven't just been able to do it. And I just am a one-handed stitcher. So I hold it with my left hand, and then the right hand goes in and back and in and back. And I balance it against my belly, to keep it in place. I'm my own stand right here. And that's how I do it. I've very occasionally stitched something in hand, just if I needed to make a quick change, or if I'm, stitching around the back stitching at the edge of something. And I have done a couple of from the front, it's already been framed, but you need to fix this stitching surgeries.
Yes.
But otherwise, it's a hoop all the time.
Yeah. Very cool. Do you ever find that, because a lot of people complain about the hoop marks, do you ever find that that is a problem?
I haven't had a big problem with it. And I haven't heard, because I send a lot of my, well, all of my things to be framed go to Acorns. I haven't heard from them that it's a big problem. I do have to take it off at the end of every
Okay.
stitching. So I always
Okay.
undo it at the end, and
Yeah.
that definitely helps.
Yeah, I'm sure that probably helps. I think people find if they leave it in there that it kind of causes a little
Yeah.
creases that are harder to get out, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Do you happen to have a preferred fabric count or type that you lean towards?
I told you I went to Acorns and Threads and I fell in love with linen, and I just have never gotten over it. I'm still infatuated. So I'm a 40 count linen pretty much exclusively. If I have to do a lower count for a particular event, I will, but often I'll stitch the model on 40 because that's what I have.
Mm-hmm.
And 42 is where you don't have to use more than one thread at a time, which is good for me because I'm terrible with two threads. I haven't ventured past 40 count into, the 52, 56 business, but I got bifocals for the first time, and it's brilliant because now I have all this
Yeah,
magnification
you
here.
can
So
see. Yeah.
maybe I'll give that a try.
Nice. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I am not a linen person.
Mm-hmm.
Not a big fan. I did stitch my first time one of the models on linen, but if I had to choose, I would be like eight.
Yeah, if you
I
don't
wear
love it.
bifocals. I don't know what it is. I don't know. I can't get around it. But
Yeah.
if I have to stitch on it, I will. But
Yeah.
yeah. So do you have a favorite place that you've traveled to, and did you bring any stitching along when you went?
I think, it's with COVID and everything, it seems so long since I've been anywhere.
Yeah, right.
Um, I think the favorite place I've been is probably Germany, and I've been a couple times, which is great. But I was younger, so it was in that gap where I wasn't stitching at all, and I didn't bring it with me. My husband and I have it on our 10-year plan to go back because he's never been and he wants to go. So then definitely I would bring some stitching. I did
Yeah.
get to go to New Zealand for work several years ago, and I brought my stitching there, and I picked up some stitching. So that
Nice.
was a lot of fun as well.
Are you a bring your stitching along when you go to appointments type of person or not? No.
No, unless I know that it's going to be quite a long time. Like when my son was in school and he was doing track, I would bring it in the car and just stitch while I was waiting.
Yeah.
Because often there was no point in taking him there and go back home and come back again.
Yep.
So,
Been
but
there, done that.
I just don't love hauling it all out,
Yeah.
in the
That
waiting room.
I bring it for like oil changes and like doctor
Yeah.
appointments, that kind of stuff where it's a longer kind of time
Yeah,
frame. So
exactly.
this is another fun one because we always learn about gadgets and gizmos and stuff. What can you not do without for your stitching? Like your favorite go-to must have, besides our basics to stitch.
This is so bad. It's my needle. And I
Oh,
say
it's a
that
certain
like
type of needle, right?
it's a kind of, yes, but it's a John James 26. That's what I stitch with. And I will sometimes use one of the gold ones if I have to for a different fabric color. But I used to be so bad. I would have literally one needle out of the packet, and I would switch it from project to project. And if it fell down and I couldn't find it, I would be so salty because another needle from the same packet just didn't feel right to me for another day or two. And so I've gotten a little bit better. Now I can use needles from the same packet and not get cranky about it. But
That's good.
yeah,
You probably just get a certain
I think
feel like,
that's pretty much in my bothers me.
yeah, because
Yes.
I'll still
Mm-hmm.
stitch with needles that are like a little bent.
Mm-hmm.
That's like a no-no, but they feel so good. And even though they're a
Yep.
little bent, I'll still
This
use
feels
them.
right. Yeah.
Yep, I'm
Mm-hmm.
right there with you. So, how do you decide on what you're going to work on next as far as projects go?
I have to have my schedule. And this is the thing we talked about earlier of trying to stay on track for what you need to do to be ahead. And the only time it's bad is when I get this fun idea that I want to work on. Well, sorry, Janine, that's for spring, and you haven't finished fall yet. So, I have to hopefully write it down enough, but then I just have a big rolling schedule of all my deadlines and what needs to be done for each, and I have to go in order. Otherwise I've wandered off to look at squirrels and the deadline's gone and the schedule's gone. And
Yep. I mean, that makes sense, especially when you have a lot of commitments, retreats and events and all that kind of stuff. You got to stick to it. So,
yeah, for me at least. I'm not saying it's the universal, but definitely for me, that's the way that it works.
Makes sense. So we're down to the last question already. It's been so fun. But before we get to it,
okay.
there's a little question. What is something that not very many people know about you?
This was such a good question. I had to think, and then I had to discard all my husband's helpful suggestions because they were not appropriate. But I came up with something that I think most people don't know about me, except Robert. And it's that when I'm thinking, I pretty much lose peripheral awareness. So, my mom would say, "You didn't hear me." Well, no, I was reading, I was thinking, I was whatever. I didn't notice you were there. The thing that it makes me do when I'm driving, I will start slowing down, and Robert will just like snap me back into stop thinking, and speed back up. But I also run into things. So walking through a door, and I'll just clip the edge of the door frame with my thing, or run into counters and desks and tables with my hip. And so I have also started, and didn't realize I was doing it, I will often put my hand on obstacles as I'm going by just to stop from running into them in case I'm thinking. So if you're not aware that that's what's happening, it looks really weird to see me go through the house touching things and just easing myself past them.
I love that. Well, and then like if you are thinking, you're like you come to and you're like, where's this random brute from?
Yeah, and Robert would be like, how it didn't move? How did you just walk into the door?
Thinking her. Thinking her. Well, like for me, when I'm driving, if I am like trying to find a destination I've never been and I have the GPS going, I turn the radio down. I know a lot of people do that, but I turn the radio down. I don't know why. I just need
whatever keeps you right in the moment where you need to be.
Yep. Exactly.
So great question. Thank you. That was a lot of fun to think about.
It's fun to kind of hear things that you wouldn't normally hear from watching people's floss tubes and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Nice. Unless you happen to watch me walk around, which I haven't done on floss.
Record yourself sometime. That would be very entertaining now. So this question is my most favorite, and I leave it to the end for a specific reason, just to kind of end on a positive note, even though the whole thing has been positive, but kind of final thoughts, basically. What's the best thing that has happened to you within the past couple of years? It's been a rough couple of years, so that's why I like that.
It has been a rough couple of years. It's been an intense couple of years. Yeah, I mean, I think about the moments this past couple of years when I got my COVID vaccine. That was such a relief. When my son, after 2 years of COVID school, graduated, what a relief. There's been a lot. I think I have to, in some ways, circle back to the beginning of Flosstube has been such a positive presence in my life. And it's been great to hear from people, great to actually connect and get past just the, hi, oh, thank you, or that you feel like you're not talking about anything real. So it's been, yeah, probably the best thing. Yeah. How about you?
Flosstube was amazing during the whole pandemic. I will say that. Our community actually came together. They did those freebies, and hosting Zooms and all that kind of stuff. It was amazing. So I think the thing for me is probably starting designing probably for the past couple of years would be. And that was Janine, Acorns on Threads, Janine pushing me into it. So it just takes that little nudge. But it
does. Well, and I think when the nudge comes from someone like Janine, you believe it. It's not like your family telling you, oh, that's great, you should do that. But when someone like Janine tells you, you think, oh, maybe I could.
Oh, well, I thought she was crazy. I thought she was crazy. Lo and
Is
behold,
she gonna watch this, Janine? I don't think that.
well, I did because I was like, I had just designed it for my wall, like it was not intentionally for anything, and then she was like,
Mhm.
oh no, no, no. And I was like, I just thought she was crazy. She knew because that is
Yeah.
my popular design, my very first one.
Yeah.
She knew. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I have a,
She knows.
yep, she does. If
Mhm.
anybody ever wants to make a trip to Portland, go see Janine
Yes,
Cords and Threads. So
exactly.
advertise me even though she doesn't need it. Everybody
Exactly.
knows who she is too. So she is awesome. Um,
Mhm.
but thank you so much for taking time out of your
Thanks for having
evening
me.
to chat with me and to
It's
let
been such a treat. I'm so
yeah,
glad.
kind of learn more about you. And this is going up on Father's Day. So if any fathers are watching, happy Father's Day. Hope you enjoyed our chit chat and
Excellent.
we'll
It's been
let
fun.
everybody go. So we'll say bye to everybody on Flosstube.
Bye. Thanks so much.